Alrighty. Well, welcome. Folks found it. I'm a little behind on the usual getting stuff ahead of time. I was unexpectedly in the hospital Thursday, got out about 24 hours ago. I'm not contagious, it's other issues. So I'm a little tired and out of it. So it'll be kind of a chill day, if that's okay with you. We'll do the usual course introduction. We've got some topics to hit today. We'll cover a couple of the tools we're going to use, show you how to get everything installed. You're welcome to use your personal computers. You can use the college computers here. Got all sorts of cool options for you. And then because I just sent this out like half an hour ago, you're also welcome not to come. It's totally up to you. It's experimental called High Flex. It'll actually be officially rolling out come summer semester, I believe. But most people like Zoom. I hate Zoom. I had terrible experiences with Zoom over the pandemic, and it's okay. Staring at a bunch of black boxes, and then when someone did want to talk, they would just chat anyway. I said I'll just keep using Twitch because since before the pandemic, I was using Twitch to live stream my classes. I would teach over U of M Dearborn, and I had a night class similar to this one. And the roads suck half the time in the winter. So people are like, "Hey, can you just record it?" And I was like, "Well, I like to watch stuff on Twitch. It's probably not too hard." And it's not too hard. So I run this little tool called OBS. It captures my desktop. It captures me. Not that you need to see me. Hey, thanks for joining along, Ancient Bags. And so we're live streamed on Twitch. You can watch it there. You can join in chat. The only downside is you can't voice chat if you're remote. Most people seem fine with that. So if you want to talk to me, just come in person, and I think that works out pretty well. We've got some other options too, but that's okay. And then it's all recorded as well, so I get a one-click export to YouTube button, so I can send it all over to YouTube, and then you can just watch it asynchronously if you like. So if you're busy Tuesday, that's fine. I assume you're probably all free since you registered for an in-person class, but you've got the options. Please don't come if you're sick. I have 7 kids at home. I get enough germs. I don't need more. So just take that as you can. And again, look for this coming out come summer semester. They've got some fun setups, some good classrooms and things, and we're trying to slowly adapt in higher ed because things are like, I don't know, super slow in higher ed to change. But we're working on it, so we're trying to see if more people are interested in this format, and then see how that goes for you. So it should be a lot of fun. Happy to hear any of your feedback. Either you can tell me directly, or at the end of the semester, you can put it in the anonymous survey. Whichever you're more comfortable with is perfectly fine. We can go from there. So I did load up the course info section here, and it's got all sorts of fun links. Everyone cares about the syllabus, and yes, because that's kind of the important one here. I'm going to try really hard not to read to you. I apologize. We had to go over some of the important stuff. So this is me. I'm Eric Chinesky. Nice to meet you. I'm the only one in the world. You probably Googled me. Yeah, not hard to find. This is my OCC email. That is my cell phone. I have a desk phone I never use. Don't use it. Don't call it. It tells you don't leave me voicemails because I don't check them. Use my cell phone. So just use my cell phone. Perfectly fine. You can call. You can text. It's all good. For office hours, I'm here on campus before class starts. And then I've got evening hours set up for virtual meetings, because most of my online students like to meet in the evenings. And then if those times don't work, feel free to schedule something else by appointment. We can go from there. I've got a Calendly link that will send you out here, and you can reserve a 15-minute slot and say, "Hey, I want to meet at this particular time." You tell me if you want to meet in Discord or Zoom, or if it's the Monday ones or Tuesday ones, say you want to meet in person. It works out pretty well. You just say, "Hey, I want to meet here." It sends us both a calendar appointment. It keeps me sane. That way I can track everything that's going on, and we go from there. It's a pretty cool tool. That's the Calendly link. We can meet in person Tuesdays. We can meet on Discord is my preference. We can also use Zoom if you'd like. Zoom is fine as well. They both screen share perfectly fine. So I have a Discord server set up. I like that because it's actually a modern tool and not these terrible forums that you have to post in and all sorts of ugly things in D2L that have worked the same way they have for 15 years. So Discord's great. If you like it, go for it. If you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to use it. But I have 4 different courses of CIS 1500. 3 of them are fully online. You folks are in person. And I said, everyone just come, because if someone has a question, I can pretty much guarantee another person has the same question. So if you have questions, Discord is a great place to put them, because then all 25, 115 of you see the question and the answer, which is pretty cool. So that benefits everybody because it's all shared. Now, Discord is public, so use whatever handle you want. I don't care. It doesn't have to have your name in it. It's fine. When you turn stuff into Desire to Learn, it has your name on it, and that's how you get your scores. So it should work out pretty well. So again, we meet Tuesdays or you can take advantage of any of the other options as well. The course catalog description is a copy paste. As long as I did that right, should be nothing new there. There were no prereqs. Our general education outcome, all sorts of fun assessment stuff. I don't know if anyone actually cares about it, but our courses all map to specific general education outcomes that the college measures for all of the classes, and we see how well you learn, specifically critical thinking. This is kind of important when it comes to programming, that you can understand how to solve problems and apply your knowledge to an assigned task. You're going to learn all sorts of tools and techniques to solve problems, and then I'll give you problems and you go solve them. It's kind of fun. It's like solving lots of puzzles. And then common course outcomes. These are things we assess across all sections of CIS 1500, no matter who teaches them. The way we assess them is a whole other story, and that's fine. But these are things that, no matter who teaches it, have to be covered. They don't get to tell college profs how to teach, but they say you have to teach these topics. And that's about the only thing we're held to, which is kind of weird, but sure. Hey, thanks for joining online. Good to see you from the online class. Glad you got the email. So things we're going to cover, and if a lot of the terms don't make any sense, that's okay. We'll get to them later. But looking at using an IDE or an integrated development environment to develop a running Java program. We're here to learn Java programming. We will edit, compile, and run our program and use the debugger. The debugger will be our best friend because it is super cool. We can actually see what's happening behind the scenes while programs run. It's really fun. The tool's overwhelming at first. It's okay. It's got a gazillion buttons. I'll show you which buttons actually matter and which ones we can ignore. We'll define constants and variables with primitive data types, understand the use of these variables with related operators, type conversions, basic input and output operations. That's a bunch of nonsense. It's okay. We'll get there. We'll figure out how you can type stuff in and get stuff out. Later on, the last third of the class, we'll move beyond typing stuff into a black box into actually having a program or a window with buttons and text boxes and things you can click on. But we start slow because it's easier to start with the basic stuff than it is for the pretty things. More Java code, if else, switches, and whiles. We'll get into all that stuff. Reading and writing from disk files. So this is later on near the end, we look at how we can save things to files on the computer rather than it all has to be loaded while the program is running. This is really cool, and how lots of things work nowadays. We don't get to databases yet. If you are continuing on in programming and take the 2151 course, we're working on incorporating database programming in that course because Dr. Baugh is awesome, and he started adding that to his classes there. That's how in the real world everything talks to databases because they're really good at storing data. Most everything happens in databases, but basic files are fine too, and they'll work just for our local computer. Lots of fun. We'll create Java classes, objects of that class with all sorts of other things. Again, we'll get there when we get to that chapter. Most of that probably won't make sense. Inheritance, same as well. We'll get to that. Arrays, we'll get to that as well. And then the fun stuff are graphical user interface programming with event handling. This is the final project that we'll tackle. We'll build out a terrible game. It's our very first semester. It won't be an interesting game. Let's just set the bar to where it needs to be here. It doesn't have to be a fun game. Go take a game programming class if you want to do interesting games. We're just kind of applying the things we've learned to make something that's clickable that is much more interesting than, hey, I built an ice cream shop. Do you want chocolate or vanilla? So I'm a big nerd. I like games and that sort of thing. So we do game-related things because it entertains me. And hopefully it's more fun for you too. So we'll see. For our textbook and materials, the required text, I have a copy now of Mr. X textbook here. This is a free online textbook that he put out here out from, I forget what his school was called. HWS, Howard and Mary, William, I forget, whatever. So he'd been teaching out there and thought, prices of textbooks are crazy, I can do a free one, and he did, and he's amazing. But he retired this semester, at the end of last semester. So I contacted him and said, hey, are you going to keep this around? And he said, I don't know what they're going to do with it, I'm leaving. So I said, okay, I'll make a copy of it, because it's licensed with Creative Commons work, which is awesome. He's a nice guy. I said, take it. Anybody who wants it, go for it. Creative Commons is fantastic. So the plan is to update it and remix it and change it and make it better. Probably not mid-semester, because that'll be a little confusing to you folks if it changes mid-semester. So I'm still trying to figure out how that all works. But I used it last semester. It was great. Everyone said it was much better than spending $100 on Pearson, because Pearson's awful. They're a terrible company, just stealing money from people. And I hope they go out of business. But anyway, this was cool, and we'll use this book. He has some options if you like physical books or PDFs or other things. I think the website is generally pretty usable. So I'll do everything off the website. If you need other options, let me know. Happy to see what I can do for you there. But this is our main textbook here. So he's got examples, he's got code, he's got quizzes at the end, which is awesome. All sorts of good stuff in here. So it should be a lot of fun. that is our textbook instead of spending a bunch of money with Pearson. Other things we're going to use, all sorts of other tools here because we need to start writing programs. So GitHub is a hosting provider of the Git source control tool. Git is the most widely used, nope, that's the wrong link here, just Git. Git is a version control system or source control system here created by our friend Linus Torvald, who founded Linux, and it is just phenomenal at managing code. So we're going to use a tool, a cloud-based tool. GitHub is the cloud service provider that hosts a Git repository for us, so we can put our code in a tool meant for code and not upload files to D2L and download files from D2L, because that is awful. Right? D2L is not made for code. It's not friendly for code, and I don't want to have to deal with it. There's better things, and you'll probably use Git in the real world, so it's fantastic. So you'll need a GitHub account. It is free. Please do not pay for anything. All these tools are free. You can sign up if you use your edu email address. They want to give you a bunch of free stuff because they're like, hey, if you try the free things, maybe you'll pay for them later. You don't have to do any of that. You're welcome to check it out. We don't need any of the expensive stuff. It's all good. So make a GitHub account, and then we'll use the GitHub desktop client for interacting with Git. I'll take you through all of that today. Don't worry. It's a bunch of links, bunch of tools, but go to desktop.github.com. It is already loaded on these college computers, so you can get logged in with your GitHub account once you create your account. And again, these are public. Use whatever username you want. I don't care. When you turn stuff into D2L, it has your name on it. So that's how I know who it is. Here's a link again for my Discord server for office hours or Zoom. Perfectly fine. I prefer Discord, but I'll work with whatever you prefer best. We'll use the IntelliJ IDEA tool. This is our integrated development environment. The community edition is free for educational use and other sorts of things like that. You don't need the fancy tool. The fancy tool has great bells and whistles, but we have to license it, and it's not hard, but it's like another thing to do, and I don't want to have to do those extra things because we don't need them. We're not going to use any of those fancy things. So go download, make sure you get the community edition. Later on, when we get to our graphical user interface programming, we'll use Scene Builder. You don't need it right away. It's okay. When we get to it, I'll show you it again, but I've got the link here. And then if you don't want to install all that, you're welcome to use the college virtual desktops as well. You can connect in remotely from your personal device. They recommend using the full client, not the web browser version, because they recommended it. I never even tried it, so I don't know why. Oh, hey, thanks for following along. I need to remember to try and think of chat. So Kings of Leon, unfortunately, we don't have enough seats. So only people registered for the in-person class can come in person because there's just not enough seats in the room. That is the downside here. Interactive learning through the textbook. I mean, it's not interactive. He gives quiz questions and problems and then solutions, but it's not like an interactive website or anything. So yeah, hopefully I just got to remember to look over this other screen here because that's where chat is. We should be good. So the virtual desktop's great. Is that a question?
Yeah, so for the GitHub account, do we have to use our edu email?
Use anything you want. I could care less.
Oh,
Yep, whatever you want. Yeah, use any account, any email address for GitHub. As long as you can get logged in, you're good to go. So one warning about the virtual desktops is they do not save files. But the good news is we're going to put everything in GitHub anyway. So GitHub will save the stuff for us once we figured out how that process works. You also can plug in flash drives and other things like that. But the fun, interesting fact is when you log into the college computers, they're actually connecting to the virtual desktop as well. So you're getting the kind of the same experience whether or not using the PC in front of you or your own device connected to the virtual desktops. They do the same thing behind the scenes, which is fun. So those are our tools. We'll go through. It's not too bad to install them. They run pretty well. And then IntelliJ is fantastic in that it will download the Java development kit for us automatically, so we don't have to go do it here. We'll talk about Java in a little bit once we get into chapter 1 and how all that works behind the scenes, but it's pretty handy. Some course-specific policies. I'm really weird about this one here because it upsets me, probably more than it should, but it really upsets me here. So you will not pass this class if you cheat. It is not okay to cheat, and you should not get a college degree if you're a cheater. All of you should not want your friends to pass either because it devalues your degree. When employers come and hire people who graduated from OCC, and if they don't know what they're doing because they cheated their way through school, they're going to say OCC does a terrible job teaching people. We don't want to hire from them anymore. So I take it as a personal mission to fail as many people for cheating as possible. It sounds a little bit terrible, but honestly, it's good for everyone, I promise. So academic dishonesty will result in a failing grade in the course no matter what it is on. You cheat, you fail the entire class no matter what. There's no 0 on assignments. There's no I'm going to try again. You just fail the class. Don't cheat. Okay? It's a college class. I don't know why this is so hard for people. I've been teaching for 11 years now, and I've not had a single semester where I've not failed someone. It's really depressing. I don't know why. And I spend way too much time telling people not to cheat at the beginning of every class, saying, please don't cheat, please don't cheat, please don't cheat. And then people still cheat, and it pisses me off. And I get upset and complain to my wife, and my wife gets upset that I'm upset. And all right, I'm already getting high blood pressure here. Okay, so just don't do it. I'm sorry? No, it's not. But, you got to put the work in. So that being said, I know there are websites to go out and find information. That's perfectly fine. I get paid a lot of money as a developer to go copy paste stuff from online. But this is academia. You need to cite your source. If you turn in someone else's work with your name on it, that's plagiarism. Plagiarism is cheating. Okay? If you cite your source, you're fine. I'm okay with that. I'll show you. I'll do that because I can't remember everything. Half the time I'm going to be like, I don't know, maybe just go Google it. I'll go Google it, find something, copy paste it in. I'm going to leave a comment saying, hey, I found it on this website, and then academia is happy because we cited our source. It's not hard, I promise. So if you're not sure, just ask me, okay? Also, Chegg.com is the worst, even worse than Pearson, because they let people pay to cheat, and they're getting sued weirdly by Pearson. So hopefully, they both, I don't know, running out of money. The lawyers win in this case, but that's okay. No use of Chegg at all is permitted. You can't cite from there. You can't post things there. Don't touch the website. You'll be better off, I promise. They're just awful. And I have to get my dean's signature on a letter to send them when people post stuff on Chegg to find out who posted it on Chegg, because they won't talk to me directly without my dean being involved, and that pisses me off because it bothers him and it takes a bunch of my time. And just don't do it, okay? And other similar sites like Course Hero, and there's so many of them nowadays. It's so sad. It's fine, but Stack Overflow, perfectly fine. That's a legitimate website that developers use all day long. No worries there. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, so our OCC handbook here, all sorts of stuff that you should not do these things, right? Acquisition or distribution of material, posting stuff on Chegg is against our policy. Who knew, right? Don't post stuff there, please. It's not too bad. But yeah, turning in someone else's work with your name on it is plagiarism, just like in an English paper. If you do it for coding, it's still cheating. And if you have questions, please shout at me. I'm really informal. You're welcome to raise your hand, but I might miss you half the time. I talk fast. I drink a lot of coffee. I have 7 kids at home, and I'm a little tired right now, but I'm already going a mile a minute. And we'll get there, okay? So just shout. It'll help everyone else, I promise, because if you're confused, someone else is confused too. Our student code of conduct, this is a copy-paste, nothing interesting here. For grading, this is what people seem to care about. So I prefer weighted grades. Occasionally it confuses people, but I promise you smart folks, you can figure it out. So for lab assignments, we'll do a lab every week here. Of all of the labs together combined, that score makes up 10% of your overall score in the class. So just because a lab is worth 10 points and a quiz is worth 10 points doesn't mean it's the same in your overall, what your letter grade is in the class. Okay? The points only matter in their category. So I'll drop your worst lab and I'll drop your worst quiz because everyone gets a free pass for those ones. So if you got to take a freebie, take a freebie. But ideally, you just do all of them, and then the worst one gets thrown out, and that's okay. We'll be doing about 4 projects throughout the semester. I try and have these be every 2 weeks or so. We start projects. We'll look at the schedule in just a little bit here. That makes up 30% of your overall score. So if a project is worth 10 points, again, it's not the same 10 points out of, there's no giant point pool or anything like that. It's all percentage based. We'll do quizzes on every chapter. Honestly, I give these to help people want to read the book. They're free points. They're open book. They're open notes, open internet. Just go and read the textbook, find the answer, plug it in, get your free points. Okay. Just open the book. Okay. It's really, my goal is to give you examples that are not in the book, and then you can read the book to see it again, and then you can do your lab exercise to practice it, and then you can do your project to try something new with it. So ideally, you're seeing all these things 4 to 5 times here to try and solidify these concepts. So reading the book is one of those important steps. So you get points for doing it, essentially. You can start the quiz, look at the questions, go and do the reading, come back and answer the questions. There's no time limit on them aside from the due date. Just open it up, see what you need to answer, find those things in the reading as you're doing your reading, plug them in as you go, save, come back to it. Just get them in by the due date and we're good there. We have 1 exam, just a midterm exam. It's only worth 10% because I think exams are stupid. But they look at me funny if I don't have them on my syllabus. So 10% of your score comes from the midterm. It's half quiz questions and half small programming questions. We've got a whole week dedicated to this. It is also untimed, open book, open notes, open internet, because no one can memorize everything. And you can't do that in programming. There's no way to keep it all in your head. This is meant to be very low stress. I'll give you last semester's midterm because I have to rewrite them every semester because people still post them to places like chegg.com, even though I beg them not to. And so I rewrite them every semester. You'll see what last semester's was. You will feel prepared for it. You can go into it, do great on it, and it'll be good for everyone. It's meant to. Sorry, this screen up front is really low. I'm sorry about that. Other than that, I like this room because the rooms in F building are usually way too hot and way too cramped. So generally, this is a better room. For the grading scale, then, that all totals. Oh, I'm sorry. The final project is worth 40% of your overall score. That's on purpose because you cannot pass the class without getting those percentages, those points. So if you don't do the final project, you don't pass. Right? This is the culmination of everything we've done together here. Makes up the bulk of our score. We have the last month of class to work on it. And ideally, we do it with partners. I don't require it because it's still the intro class, but generally you get a better experience working with partners. You can self-assign. You can work on it by yourself. I don't care, whatever you prefer. I think it's fun. I'm a little weird, so maybe it's not fun for everyone. But we build a little game with a graphical user interface, and we click some buttons, and we go around, we play our game. So the last night of class, I'll shut up, and you folks will have a chance to play your game for everyone. I'll do a Zoom session for anyone who wants to be remote, to do remote presentations if they're taking advantage of that HighFlex opportunity. But we'll all present live together. I might ask some questions about your code, ask you how you wrote it, because there are fun tools out there now that write code for you. And if you can't tell me what the code does, it's pretty obvious you didn't write it. I think that makes sense. So, and that's also why the final project is worth so much. So if you cheat your way through this and have someone else write it for you and turn it in and present it, and I find out you didn't write it, you also fail the class. Go figure. So honestly, this is my last ditch effort to catch people. So it doesn't have to be a great game. It's okay, and we'll get there. I'm happy to help people with it. I'm happy to meet and get you pointed in the right direction here. Nothing would make me happier than everyone getting an A. It has yet to happen. And it's a little sad, and I feel bad about it here, but that's really my goal, is for everyone to be successful, learn the stuff, do the things, have a little bit of fun with it, have a fun little project at the end to put together. So that's the goal. There's an official drop deadline to get a W mark. You can also ask me for a WS mark, which I don't know why we do this differently. It's essentially the same thing, but you have to ask me to do it rather than registration to do it, and there's no deadline for it. I don't understand these things, but that's how it is. And then the letter grade to percentage in the class should be a standard scale throughout the college. This comes in the syllabus template they give us. So I don't know if people change this or not, but it's pretty easy. 94 and up is an A. I know it says 93.9, but generally I'll round. So like 93.5, I just, in D2L, I turn off percentages and D2L rounds for me. And I say, oh, hey, look, D2L says you have 94. Okay. So that's how that usually works. So if you're that close, like, okay, that's fine. But we'll go from there. That's a pretty standard scale. If you don't show up, I don't know because I don't take attendance, but if you don't turn something in for the first 3 weeks, you're likely to get an N grade. N grades are bad, so they mess with financial aid and other sorts of things. So we'll have something to turn in tonight. You get the thing turned in. And before I turn these in, I email people and warn them and those sorts of things here. The best learning advice for someone new to programming is we just got to try things. You just work on it. Sour gummy worms. So late work is not accepted. The reason is when projects are due, what I'll do is I'll go over the solution in class. Not because it's super amazing to watch me solve it, but I've been doing this programming for 15 plus years now, and the approach I take to solve it might be different than your approach for solving it. And I think that's worthwhile to see. Most people say they really enjoy that sort of watching how I solve problems. It's okay. I think I've only had one person say it was a big waste of time, so I told them not to come. But that's okay. So I can't take things late once I've gone over a solution to it. Is that reasonable? Right. So projects, we have 2 weeks for all of them. Please don't wait until the day before it's due to start. Bad things will happen. Okay. We'll just start early. You can always get partial points. I give rubrics for every project, and it says you get points for it doing this, you get points for doing this, you get points for doing this. So if you get 1, 2, and 3, but you don't get 4 and 5, you get partial points. Perfectly fine. Or if you got half of 4, that's fine. You can get half the points on 4. So at least give me something to score for you, and we can go from there. Some other policies, support information. This should be standard across all the syllabuses. They're not very interesting. FERPA, I don't tell people anything about anything. No grades. I say go look at D2L because it's all in D2L. Makes my life easy. I had someone's mom call me. It's like, I can't talk to you. I don't know why you called. So, okay. It's a weird world. That's okay. If you need accommodations to the Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact the Access Office. They will submit the paperwork to me, and then I'm happy to work with you. Turns out it's actually illegal for me to do it without the paperwork on file, because all sorts of fun stuff they taught us at training. But contact the Access Office, and they'll get in touch, and we'll go from there. Happy to accommodate. Just fair warning, like nothing's timed, so most of the things I see are people need additional time on quizzes and tests. They're all the time in the world, up until the due date. So again, if you need something though, let me know. Happy to chat with you about it. But generally, I think they don't apply much. But happy to do what I can there. The Academic Support Center is one of my favorite things about OCC. It's an entire department on every campus dedicated to academic support. They have, free is the wrong word here, but no additional charge tutoring here, because it is paid for by your tuition dollars and tax dollars. So someone's getting paid for it, but you don't have to pay more money for it here. And at Orchard Ridge is where we have most of the CIS tutors here. You see, we've got actually a pretty good range here of tutors for CIS. We've been working on getting more folks in because people say this seems to be a pretty helpful service. So you can work with Michael B., Rika, Jordan, and Tim are the tutors specifically for 1500. And we also have Mr. Tim is our group tutor. He runs 2 dedicated sessions per week just for my classes here. So anyone in any of my classes, either the online ones or you folks, can meet Tuesdays and Thursdays. He sent me the information while I was sick, so I posted it and don't actually remember what it was, but it's out there. I think it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, 5 to 6. He runs sessions on Zoom, so you can join from wherever you are. It's a tutoring session where anyone can come and ask questions. It's fantastic. So he has been my group tutor for 2 years now. 2 years. This is the end of my 3rd year here as a full-time instructor, and I think I didn't have him in the first semester. I forget. I'm a little fuzzy. But he also does individual appointments as well on Friday. So we've got a couple ranges of times here, which is awesome. Jordan has a couple evening times as well. I don't know what your schedules are like. So hopefully you can find somebody, if you're looking for it, at no additional charge. I think the only thing they ask is you don't ghost them. If you ghost them twice, they kind of revoke your privileges and say, well, we had to pay someone to show up when you didn't show up. So, but we're thrilled when people book tutoring appointments. It's fantastic. So they will not solve things for you. Please don't come with nothing in hand, right? Come with whatever you started on and tell them where you're stuck, right? They can help get you unstuck. They're not going to solve the problems for you. Is that reasonable and fair expectation? So show up with something and say, hey, I was working on this. This is the assignment. This is as far as I got. This is where I got stuck, or I'm getting this error and I'm confused. They're happy to help. They're fantastic people. Jordan was in my class before, and Michael was in my class before. I've worked with Rika a lot, but she was never a student of mine. And then Tim's been with me for several semesters now as the group tutor. So that's awesome. We offer that. That's to the Orchard Ridge schedule. You could find it there. And then, so they've got a email address or something. You can call or email their Orchard Ridge Tutoring Center at oaklandcc.edu to schedule. They're pretty nice, and they'll take care of you. So take advantage of that. With our group tutor sessions or individual tutoring sessions, Mr. Tim does take attendance for those for reasons so that he can get paid. But then at the end of the semester, I'll usually total up all the times that you've been there, and like 1 point per week, essentially. If you went to a group tutor session or an individual tutoring session, I'll throw in some extra bonus points. Like, honestly, for effort. If you're putting in the effort, you will likely pass the class. That's usually how it works. I think I've only had one person ever that I just gave up on and said, you obviously aren't understanding this. I'm sorry, you need to change majors. And that was sad, because I really think people can get this. It's not rocket science. So put in the effort, you should be successful. A typical college course, right? Our class is a 4-credit class, means we generally have about 4 hours worth of in-person work, or like content that we go through. It's not all me talking, I promise, because that would be terrible to sit here and listen to me for 4 hours. I would get bored myself. But 4 hours of like, here's the work we're going to do here. And then what college expectations are is that for every hour in class, you have 2 hours outside of class of additional work, whether or not that's doing your readings or doing your assignments or doing your studying or whatever it happens to be. So in a 4-credit class, you have signed up for a 12-hour-a-week commitment. If you're putting in 12 hours a week, you're likely to be successful. When people are not doing so well, I'll be like, hey, how's it been going? And I like spreadsheets because I'm a big nerd. I'm like, okay, we're 4 weeks in. 4 weeks times 12 is 48 hours. How much time have you put into the class? and someone was like, oh, I watched one of the recordings and I couldn't make it the other week, so like 10 hours. I'm like, well, and next week starts tomorrow. You have 40 hours worth of work to get caught up on. You can do it, but it's 40 hours worth of work. So it just sort of works like that. Just kind of keep a log mentally for yourself, how much time you're putting in. If you're putting in more than 12 a week, let me know, please. I want to chat with you and see what's not clicking. If you're successful on just 4 hours a week, good for you. You're doing great. That's fantastic. But on average, we're looking for about 12 hours worth of effort for this class per week. So, and it does pile up, right? If you're not putting in the time and effort in week 1 and week 2 and week 3 and week 4, it will pile up and it will still be there no matter what week it is. So just keep that in the back of your head. This is sort of how I mentally keep track of things myself, how much effort we're putting in here.
I have a question
Yeah.
about the SI.
Yeah.
So every week that we go, we get a point every week.
It's not like a percentage point or anything, so I'll total up, like if you've gone that week either to an individual tutoring session or the group tutor session, I'll mark it down, and at the end I throw usually onto like the quizzes or labs or somewhere you're not doing well. I don't usually add points for projects because you've had lots of time for those, but most people, if they had some trouble on some quizzes or labs, I throw the bonus points that way at the end of the semester.
Oh, so it's just a set number. You can't stack it up. Like you go here and then get a point every week.
But you can, yeah. So you'll be up to that many points that I can fudge in your lab score or your quiz score. Yeah. So yeah, they will total throughout. So, but it's a lot of work to plug them into D2L because the gradebook's annoying. So I don't do it until the last week. Just fair warning. But like Mr. Tim keeps the attendance. The individual tutors can mark down if they saw you or not, and we can go from there. So yeah. That's additional time you're putting in to try and be successful. So I'm happy to incentivize that as much as extra credit in college upsets me because I don't still understand that whole concept, but that's okay. It's all right. Yeah. I mean, if you're putting the effort, I'm happy to reward it. For technical support, D2L handles D2L technical issues, like the website's not responding. If it's content related, that's me because I put all the content out there. So they're 24/7, but they rarely ever do anything other than say the website works. So I don't know why we have this, but that's okay. For accessibilities, there's a link there. The minimum technical skills, we expect you to know how to use a web browser, to use D2L, to be able to do basic word processing and presentation creation. You don't have to make a presentation. This was a copy paste from ever. I don't know. And file management. File management is big, and turns out people are bad at this nowadays because we don't have to do it. So we'll spend a little bit of extra time on file management because like you don't just plug in the name of a file and it shows up on your device. Like we have to know where files are on our computer for things to work right. So we'll spend a little bit of time on it. It's okay, but you need to know what a file is, right? And then we can move them around on the computer, and we should be good to go from there. I think I forgot to mention, when we were talking about the tools, they work on Mac, they work on Windows. I think they even work on Linux. I had one person who was just really into Linux, and they're like, I want to use Linux. And I said, okay, I don't care. Doesn't really matter. All the tools work. So whatever you prefer, go for it. I do everything on Windows because I'm a Windows fanboy, and I don't really like Mac, and I don't like how much they cost, and I have my own issues. That's my problem, not yours. So it'll be okay, whatever device you want to use. Our technology appropriate use regulations. Don't do stupid things with college resources or you'll lose access to those college resources. It's really hard to pass CIS classes if you can't use college resources. Okay, so just don't do it. You agree to it, not that anyone ever reads it, just by logging in. So that's fine. For Netiquette, just be polite. I don't tolerate any sort of hate. So just be a nice person, please. Be kind, and we'll be okay. Our public safety department is awesome. They are fully licensed or badged, I forget whatever the term is, police officers that operate out of each of our campus. They can do for you. Happy to help. Given this is the winter semester, one service they do provide folks is escorts to your vehicle. It is rather dark out at night, and if that's uncomfortable for you, they are seriously more than happy to walk you to your car. Like, they're all really nice folks, and I think they want to be needed because we're a community college campus with a police department, so they like doing that sort of thing. But check out their website, contact them. We can get to them from any phone on campus or off campus, that sort of thing. For me, the goal is to have things graded within a week. You probably saw on Rate My Professor and other places I'm terrible at this. Apologize. Life has been a little crazy. I'm getting back to it, and that's the goal, to have everything turned around in a week. This semester will be different, is my mantra, and we'll do the best I can on this. I know you like having scores because that's stressful, so I'm going to do the best I can to get those back to you. The projects will all come with a rubric. So if it does the thing it's supposed to do, you're probably going to get the points that you see in the rubric. So I ask you when you turn in your project to do a self-assessment using the rubric and say, hey, for item number 1, did I get the points? Yes or no? Great. For item number 2, did I get the points? Yes. That's for the projects. For the labs, they're honestly mostly participation points. If you're doing the lab, you're going to get the points, unless you just like turned in 3 words. Like that's not actually doing the lab. If you tried, we're good. You can get the points there. But the goal is the labs work for you and make sense to you because you need to be able to do the lab work to be able to do the project work. And the labs aren't worth very much. The projects are worth a lot. So we do labs every week for you to practice these things where I can walk around and help. And then we have projects for you to try those things and go from there. For email response, texting, find me on Discord, 24 hours or less. If I haven't responded, please ping me again. My little guy gets my phone to watch YouTube Kids videos a lot, and sometimes he swipes my notifications and I might miss it. So just ask me again. I'm a millennial. I have this in my pocket all the time, and it never leaves my side, basically, except when he's watching YouTube on it, because his device needs to charge. It's okay. You can judge me. I don't mind. It's all right. So I always have it with me. I'm busy. I teach other classes, have other stuff going on, so I can't always get right back to you, but generally pretty quick, I'll get back to you. If you haven't heard, please ask again. Okay? I'm not trying to ignore you on purpose. Then our course schedule. Hooray, we're getting there. We are almost through the syllabus. I'm sorry to read things to you. I know you're adults. I feel that every time. So we're going to do the course introduction. That's what we're doing now. We're talking about GitHub and IntelliJ, and then chapter 1 is the mental landscape of programming. That's all we're getting to this week. It'll be kind of a light week, kind of ease into it. Gives you time to go get the tools installed on your computer if you want. And then we'll have our first lab assignment. You can get it done before you walk out the door. If you want to go home because you're tired, go home and turn it in later. Perfectly fine. I am hopeful that this is flexible for you and that, if you want to get it done, this is your 4 hours. You have 4 hours to get it done. You don't have other time during the week. Great, we'll get it done. If you're tired and want to go home, go tired and go home. Right? We'll make it work. We take we jump around a little bit. I wanted to reorganize his book, but it didn't happen over break, and then that's fine. So we go chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, mostly in order. We jump around a little bit inside of chapter 3 because of how he ordered it. Again, it's free. I do it with the Pearson books too because that's all right. So we'll talk about if, else's, and switches first from chapter 3, and then we'll come back for whiles, do's, and for loops in chapter 3. And we'll start our first project in 2 weeks. Once we've done this if, else's, and switches. Once we've done enough here, we can actually get our first project and start on it. We've got enough in our pocket. We've got enough tools and techniques. We can do something slightly interesting for a project. And we'll finish up chapter 3. We'll do chapter 4. Chapter 5 we split into 2 weeks, generally 5.1 through 5.4, and then 5.5 through 5.8. We got another project, so projects every 2 weeks, and then I'll review the projects. Right, the first part of class I spend solving the project that was due from before. So spend a little time there. We've got winter break. I think I got this right. It's starts the last week of February. I looked at the academic calendar just before I put this together. I think that's when it is. And then we'll come back from break, finish up chapter 7, start on input, streams, and files, and then we've done enough to have a midterm. We've gotten enough on our belt. So the midterm is a little bit late in the semester, but I want to have enough content to really give you something meaningful there for us to practice with. So the midterm, that's the only thing I have planned that week, is designed so that if I wanted to, I could say, please sit and take it in front of me. I don't want to watch people take tests. It's really boring. So you're welcome to start it just like the quizzes. As long as you get it in by the due date, we're good. So we'll have some review time. We'll have the exam. Should be fine. So project 3 will be due the week after. So you also have project 3 in the middle, but promise the midterm's not too bad. Yeah, ideally. So I time things so that if it takes you twice as long as I think, you'll still have time. So ideally, it's like a 1-hour quiz, if that. So it's like 15 questions from quizzes at 2 minutes each. Sure, that's half an hour. And then like 3 short answer questions, 10, 15 minutes each. So even if it takes you double or triple that, you could still get it done in a sitting. But you've got all week, so that's okay. So project 3 will be due, and then we'll talk about the final project at the end of March. And then we have all of April. We pick up a little bit of chapter 8. This is not a very long chapter, so we'll have time to work on the project as well. We'll come back to look at some more advanced graphical user interface programming concepts from chapter 13. Have time to work on the project. The second to last week of class, I have no new topics planned, just time for you to work on the final project and for me to help you with it. Whether or not you're working with your partner or me just wandering around the room helping. And then on April 25th, you'll present your projects. That's technically week 16, but we had a week off for midwinter break, so it's still 15 weeks worth of stuff. That's the plan. And if it has to change, it'll change. I'll let you know. But that is the tentative plan for the course. So we will kind of speed our way through the first half of the book, jump around the second part of it here. He's got a lot of other cool content in here that we just don't get to in this class, and that's okay. I didn't want to remove it. Like, it's still cool, and if you want to go look at it, go for it. You can go nuts. All right, that was the syllabus. Tired.
Good job, man.
Oh man, I do miss people as much as I like technology and things and like not having to go places. I'm a people person, so I do like people. I appreciate you folks. So, all right, other fun links here then. All right, this is my website. You can take a look at my website. It has links about me, all the other courses I teach. I do the same thing with this HyFlex format. So if you're bored and want to talk about Python or C# or web systems development, go for it. Have fun. It's linked here in course info. It's my website. Or if you just Google me, you'll find me too. Our course repository. This is where all of the code will go for the class, because code does not belong in D2L. I will die on this hill. It does not belong in D2L. It's a terrible place to put code. Code is meant for tools that manage code, like GitHub. GitHub is a hosting provider of the Git source control system that manages code for us. So I've got a copy of the syllabus out here. It doesn't have my cell phone number. People can Google me to find it, but I wanted to like at least make them work for it. It's not hard to find my number, but I didn't want to put it out a bunch of different places. So pretty much everything's out there except a couple of the links. So it's out here. When I do examples in class for code, I will post them out here for you. So and I'll show you that whole process in a little bit. We'll get to it more next week than this week. We're not actually doing a whole lot of code this week, which is sad, but that's okay. We're getting, we got to walk before we can run. So we'll get there. But this is the course repository. So if you ask me for examples from class, I'll say they're in the course repository. They'll always be out here. My Calendly link, I think I showed you that for scheduling office hours appointments. It schedules 15-minute blocks. It's okay if it's a 5-minute question. You're also welcome to just ask me questions anytime, right? Send them to me over email or text me or find me on Discord. Send me questions and I will answer them asynchronously. This is if you want to like meet and talk synchronously. We'll set aside that 15-minute block of time and we can have a chat. We can do a screen share, that sort of thing. I keep some really weird hours, so usually I'm around in the evenings. It's not quiet in my house until the kids go to bed. That's why usually I'm around working late, but works out well for most people. So last semester I had office hours in the afternoon 2 days a week and in the evening 2 days a week, and by far and in large the evening office hours were the most popular. I was usually booked pretty solid every evening that I had office hours, which is great. Happy to meet with you folks. Works out really well. Another link to my Discord server, if you didn't find it in the syllabus, it is optional. I would recommend you go there and hang out there. It's great. I'm trying to build some sort of a community. It's got some fun channels. You can post your memes. They're safe for work memes, please. Right? Nothing too risky. But trying to build out a network for people to share career information. If you know about cool internships, other job opportunities, feel free to share there. Got some channels for fun stuff. You can post pictures of your pets. We've got some really cute cats out there. I'm not a dog person, but that's okay if you are. I won't hold it against you. I have 6 cats because my children found 3 of them in the garage. The mother cat left. I don't know how that all happened. And then my kids were like, they're so cute, I want to keep them. I couldn't say no. So we had 3, and then we just got 3 more. So I have 6 cats at home. It's a little nuts, but that's okay. A link for my Zoom room, if you wanted that again as well. It is in the syllabus, but here you can go find it quickly if you want to meet over Zoom. And then our SI doc, that's where this is. Okay, so this has the information for the SI sessions. If you want to go chat with Mr. Tim and head for those weekly sessions. That's all here in the course information links. Okay, we all right so far? I think that's all of the course information before we actually get into content. So if it's okay with you folks, why don't we take 5 minutes or so? I need to go get some more water. I don't think there's any coffee around. Maybe I'll get a Diet Coke, get some more caffeine, and then we'll jump into GitHub. We'll talk about IntelliJ, and we'll talk about Chapter 1, and then we'll get out of here, and we'll do our first lab, and then we'll get out of here before it's too late. Does that sound reasonable? All right, so I'll put the music on, and we'll come back, say 5 minutes or so. Is that just a quick one, okay? All right, we'll come back. That's what it says. 6:50? 6:50. Right. Welcome on back. So I try and go no more than an hour and then take a break, and then no more than an hour and then take a break, and then no more than an hour, and then by then everyone's tired. So never more than 3 sessions, and then we'll get to lab time. So depending on what the topic is, that's sort of the goal. So most nights, I should be done talking at you by 9, if not sooner, and then we can have some lab time, and that flow generally goes pretty well. This first week is not quite so much, but other weeks there's a lot of stuff to get through, just a lot of content, and that's kind of what it is. I'll show you examples. I have a particular aversion to PowerPoint in that I hate it. I spent way too much time as a student being read to, which for someone who can read is terribly dull because people put words on the screen and then they read the word. And I know I just did it to you, and I'm so sorry, and I feel bad. I sort of have to for the syllabus. There's some important stuff there, but so I don't do PowerPoint for stuff because that's silly. What we're going to do is we're going to write code, and I will show you that code works and runs. And I'll type code in front of you. You'll watch me code. Some people like to follow along. Some people type fast like I do. That's great. Other people, it stresses them out like you wouldn't believe. If you're not keeping up, it's okay. I'm going to post it all shortly. Like as soon as we're done, I'll go and post it. You don't need to be typing along behind the scenes. I type around 100 words per minute because I've been typing since I was a child. So it's okay. You don't need to. I'll post it all. So I want to give you all the examples here, but we do all of that stuff. So I want to start with GitHub, and we'll take a look at what Git does. It's a really, really cool tool, but it's actually really simple for what we're using it for. We're not going to do any of the really cool advanced stuff, and that's okay. We're just scratching the surface. So if you got a chance to go make your GitHub account, great. We'll be doing this as part of the lab exercise after we're done, but I need to go in clicking buttons here. Oh my goodness. I want to kind of show you it first, and then when lab practice time, you can go through and do it again for lab. Don't feel like you have to follow along here. So we use this tool from classrooms.github.com because they give it away for free and they're awesome. So I use the Classroom tool to make repositories. A repository is just a fancy word for a folder. That's all it is. So a Git repository is just a folder here. So every lab that we have and every project that we have will have another repository for you. So you can put your code in that repository, and then you'll be able to keep it in sync with the github.com cloud. Sort of the idea here. So Git is a distributed source control tool. This is winter 2023. When we count in programming land, we always start with zeros. There's reasons here. It won't make sense till we get to arrays. It's okay, but just smile and nod. We always start counting at 0. That's what we do. So I just need to set up a couple things so that it will create the repository for me using the right template here. Oh, goodness. Let's open Unity College Java template. There we go. Does a lot of cool things. I can't, all the things don't always work quite the right way, so we just use the basic ones. So we'll essentially get this link here. And in D2L, I'll put a link out here. We'll have our lab assignment 0, excuse me. And then labs are usually due the next week before class starts. So you've got time if you want time to work on them. You don't have to get them done before you leave. They're designed so that you can get them done before you leave. That's sort of the goal, but again, pretty flexible here. And then what you're going to turn in is just some text. So we're going to limit the URL to your GitHub repository. File introduces yourself. Your name, pronouns, your major, your current occupation, or I'm sorry, I'm a little out of it right now. I'm like talking as I type. So you're just going to introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your major, or like why you're here in school, what you hope to get out of the class. And if your answer here is just a passing grade, that's perfectly fine. Like it's a legitimate thing to want to get out of the class. That's okay, right? We're just an intro to programming class. If it's a prereq on your way to something else, fantastic. If it's an elective for a different major, that's cool too. Not everyone's a software engineer. I won't hold it against you, even though I think software engineering is the best major. That's just me. And then anything else fun to know about you. Okay, so just a couple quick things we're going to put into a file here in Git. I'll talk you through it. I'll show you how I'll do it, and then later on lab time you can do it, and I can actually walk around the room and help you if you're wrong buttons here. Where's the right button here? I want to edit. There it is. So I can go to this GitHub Classroom link. If you're not logged into GitHub, it'll make you log in first. So if you're logged in, you'll have something up here. You can go log in. It says, do you want to accept the assignment? Yes, we want to accept the assignment. It says it takes a few minutes. It takes like 5 seconds. So by the time I'm done saying something, I'm going to refresh my page. I'll have a repository here. It's another website. I go to this link here. This is my repository, my folder for Lab 0. It'll have the class, the semester, the assignment name, and then your username. My username for GitHub is Eric Chinesky. I'm the only Eric Chinesky in the world. It works well for me. Your mileage might vary. So this is a private repository. This is one of the cool things I like about the GitHub Classroom tool. What that means is that if I go to this website URL in a different browser that I'm not logged into GitHub in, I don't have access to it. It says page not found. This is not the web page you're looking for because GitHub's cute like that. So if you're not logged in, you can't get here. It's private. So you'll have access and I'll have access, and that makes sure that none of your classmates copy off of you. Because you don't want that. That's bad news bears. If your classmate asks to see your code, tell them to get lost. Right? You cannot share code with them. Right? Because they're not just going to look at it to see how you did it. They're going to copy off you and turn it in and plagiarize off of you. And then I'm going to have 2 submissions with the same code in it. I'm going to be like, why do these 2 match? And you both fail. Right? Because I don't know who gave it to who. And if they say they gave it to you, like, it's just awful. Just don't do it. Okay? My general rule of thumb is discussions are fantastic. You're welcome to talk about what you want to do here, but if you have to start taking notes, you've gone too far. Right? So talk about your code. Hey, I'm going to do this, and I think I'll follow this approach, or I need to add 10 to this number. Fine. But if I start writing that down, I've probably gone too far. Okay? Anyway, so I have this private repository. It's just a folder. So you can see the folder here on the website. GitHub is a great website in that you can go and view these sorts of things here. There's all sorts of cool stuff here on GitHub. They support open source projects for free, and Microsoft has been working on making more of their stuff open source because it's kind of cool. So they've got some fun, like this is VS Code. This is the repository for the tool called VS Code, which is a nice editor. You can do all sorts of fun things in it here. And what you get is files and folders. Notice these look like folders. They have a little folder icon. These ones have a little file icon. They're files. And I can click on any one of these and I can see what the contents of it are because they're all text files. Now, it's not very interesting right now. It's kind of a boring file. But if we wanted to go look in, say, their source folder here, and then look in the VS file here, and then look in their editor file, and look in the browser file, they have all sorts of crazy stuff in here. We can look at the editor extensions.ts. This is a TypeScript file. We can see all the code that goes into writing this particular piece of the project. And GitHub just gives us a website where we can go and view it. So to find your code, I can go look on the website to find your code. I don't even have to download it and run it. Honestly, I've been doing it long enough. Most of the time I can look at your code and I'll know if it's going to work or not. If I look at it and I have no idea because it's kind of a mess, then I'll go download it and try and run it. And if it works, you're fine. You get your points. There's no points here for pretty. The points in this class are for functional. As you develop your skills and you've practiced more, you'll get the pretty stuff. You'll learn to do the pretty things. But I want to know if you can just make it work. That's my goal here. So all sorts of fun things go into it. And then what's really cool is also these line numbers here are links. So I can say, hey, line 290 to like 295. And notice my URL now has the pound sign and the line number. So I can take this URL and send it to somebody, or me, if you're asking me a question, say, hey, Eric, I'm getting an error at this line here with my code. So you can do the same thing if your code is on GitHub, which is fantastic. So it's a tool made for collaborating on code. That's why we use it. It's a great tool here. So that's the Visual Studio VS Code one. It's way more fancy. Notice we don't have a whole lot in here. There's 2 files that start. We get a readme.md file, and it just says Java template. It's a markdown file. You don't ever have to touch it. It's okay. It just stays there. And then there's a .gitignore file. Part of the magic of Git is it watches files in this folder. What gitignore says is ignore these files. The idea is that we care about source code. And if I can create a file from your source code, I don't need that file. So these .class files we'll talk about in a little bit are generated from our Java source code. So I don't need them because I can go make them fresh every time I want. And all sorts of other things in here. We just don't need those kind of files. So we get 2 things to start. It's a folder. Now, it's out in the cloud, but my computer doesn't have it. So to get a copy of this repository, to get a copy of this folder on my computer, I like the easy way. I click this big green code button here and I say open with GitHub Desktop. It says, do you want to open GitHub Desktop? I say, yes, I want to open GitHub Desktop. The GitHub Desktop client will launch. If you haven't logged in yet, you'll have to go log in. It actually takes you back to the website to log in because that's how that works, and it's not too bad. It's fine. It says, hey, I want to take this URL, github.com/occ/ this whole thing, and I want to make a copy of it here on your local computer. It defaults to your documents GitHub folder. So by default, we put everything in folders, places on our computer. We have a documents folder. It's going to make a new folder called GitHub, and inside of that, we'll have all your GitHub repositories. So you'll have one for every lab, you'll have one for every project, you'll have one for the final project. It's nice and pretty and organized. We like that. If you don't like to put stuff here, you can put it anywhere you want. You can click choose and go find a different spot. GitHub could care less. But what it does behind the scenes is it says, hey, this website and this folder are now linked. I know they belong together. That's how it does it. So anywhere you want to put it, it will link it perfectly fine. I'd recommend leaving it here because it's easy. Again, I'm a big fan of easy things. So the github.com cloud will have a copy of it. You don't need to put it in your OneDrive. You don't need to put it in your Google Drive. You don't need to put it on your iCloud. Right? Then you'll just have 3 copies in the cloud. We don't need that many copies in the cloud. We just need one somewhere. GitHub makes money selling this service to organizations, professional development organizations, and they can give it away for free for educational use and open source use because Microsoft owns them and they make a lot of money on other things. So just let them have it in their cloud and we're okay. So it's kind of like if Windows really likes to use the OneDrive because they're pushing that on everyone, which I think is fantastic, actually. It's a really cool service. They don't pay me, I promise, Microsoft. But if you get this in your OneDrive folder, Microsoft now has 2 copies of your file because they own GitHub and GitHub has the file and then OneDrive has the file too. And okay, sure. Anyway, so I'll say clone. So clone will make the copy of that folder. So now these 2 files here I'll have in a folder on my computer. And from the GitHub desktop client, I can say show in Explorer and it'll open up my file explorer here. So File Explorer is our tool for viewing files. If I click up in this little path area here, depending on how wide your monitor is, it gets a little funny here. You can see the full path. C, users, Eric C, documents, GitHub, CIS 1500, winter 2023, lab 0-Eric Chinesky. That's the folder. Okay, so it's folder inside of a folder, inside of a folder, inside of a folder. This is always where it is. So if you don't know where you put it, you can always come back here and go find it. We're going to need to know where this folder is when we start writing Java code, because we're going to tell our Java code, please put yourself in this folder, because that way all the magic can happen. But you'll see there's the .gitignore file, there's the README file, and then depending on your settings, you see this folder's kind of grayed out a little bit. This is technically a hidden folder. So by default, Windows hides these things, but developers usually turn them on because we like to see these things. So if I go to View and show hidden items, I can see the hidden items. There's a folder called .git. Anything with a dot is generally like a hidden or ignored file that we're not supposed to touch. Don't ever touch it. This is where all the magic happens. Just leave it alone. Just pretend it doesn't exist. It might actually be better if it was hidden, but it's there. This is where Git does all the things Git does. So now it's a folder, and I have these 2 files. I can open them on my computer if I want to see them. They're not very interesting, right? The README file says Java template. That's all it is. This is a markdown format here with that pound sign, so I can open it. I like VS Code. It's a pretty handy tool. You can open it with whatever you want here. I think most people use like Notepad. If you want to open with Notepad, it's a plain text editor. That's all it is. It's just text, and we can see the text. So there's 2 files. So what I can do then, now that I have a copy of the repository, I have a copy and github.com has a copy. Okay, if I make changes to my copy, I need to synchronize with the cloud. It's not automatic for reasons that, it's possible we don't want the changes we made because we were just like testing things, we're trying things out and saying, oh, forget it, I don't want it anymore. So there's no automatic syncing here. So it is a manual step to sync. I promise it's not bad. So I'm going to make a new file here real quick, like you're going to do for your first lab here. And we'll say, I don't know, hello.txt. I don't really care what you call it. Anything you want. Just a text file is fine here. Not a Word document, please. Word documents will not work for this exercise. Right? We're using text-based files for reasons here. But here's my Word file here. I'll say, hi, I'm Eric Chinesky. Can't spell my own name. My goodness. Me and him. It's been a day. I'm sorry. I've barely been home for 24 hours, so that's okay. Eric Chinesky. And what else did I say I wanted here? I wanted name and pronoun, your major here. So I was part of the doctoral program. I had to drop out due to some family health issues. So at some point I'll go back for a doctorate. It's on my bucket list, but not right now. So I'm not a student anymore. That's kind of a sad face. That's okay. It was fun. I just don't have the time for it, and that's okay. Current occupation, what keeps you busy? I teach software engineering. What do I hope to get out of the class? I want everyone to be successful. I really do. Really do. I don't like failing people. I know it sounds like I'm a jackass because I fail people who cheat, but if you put in the work, I want you to be successful. Okay. Anything else fun? I love games and Dungeons and Dragons. Big fan. I run a campaign for my friends and for my kids. It's really cool. It's entertaining, and it's a great escape from the real world, which sucks sometimes. So we can just go be the hero in a story. I always liked reading fantasy books as a kid and sci-fi books as a kid. Be like, that was really cool, and you can do that in the game. So it's entertaining. That's me. Anyway, so I'll save my file and close it. We don't need to keep it open. It's sure, anything else is fine. If I come back to the desktop client, the GitHub desktop client, now there's this changes tab and there's a history tab. The history tab is cool because it will show you literally every change that's ever been made to this folder. So we went back to like Microsoft's VS Code, you could see the thousands and thousands and thousands of changes to that project since it existed. We don't really need that history, but it's kind of cool to have, right? Like we don't care what it looked like 3 years ago, too, not really much, but that's fine. It does it. The changes tab is much more interesting. It says, hey, there's something different in here. The whole thing, all Git does is says it will watch a file, it will watch a folder for things to change. If something changes in that folder, it says, hey, I saw a change. Something changed, something's different. That's all it does. What we get to do then is we make something called a commit. A commit is a snapshot of this point in time of that folder. So once we have a commit, it's really hard to lose it. It is possible if you go Google things and type in the wrong commands, you'll screw up your computer. Don't just run commands you find on the internet because some people are mean and they tell you to run mean things. I don't know why people like you can be so nice and helpful on the internet and people choose to be mean and it's terrible, but that's okay. We'll be good. We'll be good people. So sorry, this is their final project we'll get to later. This is just the first lab. So I can make a commit. When you make a commit, you have to give it a summary. That's the little small box here. There's also a large box here. When you go work for an organization, generally they have standards around what goes in the small box and what goes in the big box. I don't care. Put whatever you want here. Just please don't swear at me and we'll be okay here. So something in here like lab 0 done. Something meaningful is usually better than garbage. But again, I don't really care. No one's going to look at this and score you on this here. I'll show you this message here will show up later on the website, and I'll show you where it shows up. So it's useful, but do with what you want here. So I give it a summary, and I say commit. Now, I have committed it to my local repository. My computer's Git repository knows about it. The github.com cloud, the central repository, the origin repository, has no idea it changed. We're out of sync, right? The sync process is manual. So to sync, it's a push and a pull process. You push changes locally to the cloud, or you pull changes from the cloud local. For everything we're doing that's just us, we're only ever pushing because we just need to push our changes out. That's all we have to do. Later on, we'll figure out when we start working with groups how I can pull changes down to my computer that other people made. We'll get there when we get there. We don't need to worry about it right now. So I get a nice big blue push button here. I get a push button here. It also says, hey, if I want to push, I can press Control P. With any programming tool, there's always going to be like 3 ways to do something. Pick your favorite. It doesn't matter. I like the big blue button because it lights up in my face. It makes me happy. So I'll click that. It goes and does a little process, and then it goes away. There's nothing now to push. So that commit has been synchronized with the cloud. So if I go to history, I can see that little message I put in there. Right? It'll show, but it's fine. We don't care. But it doesn't show as a change anymore. As far as Git is concerned, I am in sync. The last commit it knows about is exactly what's in the folder. Sorry, I thought I hit ignore on that. So now I can go view it on the website. I'll go view on GitHub here, and I can see there's now a file hello.txt, and I can click on it, and I can see the contents if I want. I'm going to zoom. Wow, it's too much zoom here. I can zoom in and see the contents here, right? Because they're just text-based files. When we start writing code are also text-based. Code is. Java code is a text-based file that we can look at. It just so happens so that Java can also understand it, which is cool. So we can see the contents of it here. So we can commit and we can push. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this URL here. So this is the URL to this particular file here. Just copy paste that in, and that's what you're going to turn into D2L. When it says submit, you get a little submit box. Go copy paste it in, and we're good to go. That's all we have to turn in here. That shows we can use the GitHub workflow. Now, I want to show you this option here, but I'm going to tell you never to use it because please just don't. There's a button here that says add file. Don't click this button. Don't do it. The website lets you just add files from the website. please go through the workflow where you have a copy of the repository, you put stuff in the folder, you commit the changes, you push the changes. That's the right workflow. It will make life easier for you if you follow that workflow later on, because that's what we're going to be doing every time. So just pretend like this button doesn't exist, okay? Just ignore it, okay? Every so often, people have issues and things don't work, and then we don't have time to screen share, and I'll say, fine, just send me the files. So, and that's another reason we have 2 weeks to work on things. If you're having trouble getting stuff committed to Git 5 minutes before the project's due, I have very limited time to help you, right? If it's a day before it's due, I can usually find some time to meet with you and figure out why it doesn't work right and how you can get it on github.com. Last ditch effort, fine, email me your files. I'll show you how to do that too. And we'll all feel bad about it, but it's fine. You'll get it in and then you won't be stressed. Okay. So not meant to be a lot of stress, but we'll follow the process. We'll do this with every lab. We'll do this with every project, and life will be good. Okay? You'll feel better about it once we've done it a bunch. It's not too terrible of a process. So now the next thing, so if you go install IntelliJ, I guess we don't actually need to do any code today. We can do code next week here. Yeah, I'll show you that next week. So when we make projects in IntelliJ to write Java code, we just put them in the folder, and it works the exact same way. I'll show you because it's fun. So I'll go to IntelliJ. And we'll do it next week. I just want to show you what it's going to look like real quick here. And I go make a new project. New project. Close. So we just need to go tell it where to put the project here. So I want it in my 1500. Oh my goodness, I have too many of these folders. I've not cleaned up lately. Winter. Did I make the folder? Am I not seeing winter 2023? I don't see it. Ah, goodness. Do I have it? I think I have it. Yeah. Have it. All right, this should have gone better. Winter, there it is. Was it there before? Or am I just going crazy?
When I click the GitHub, the desktop, it doesn't take me to the one that I already got to download.
Yeah, so you have to, oh, it's not opening the other one?
No, it's not opening.
Okay, I can help you in just a little bit when we do the lab time. Yep. So here's my lab 0 folder, right, that we have here. So if I pick this folder for where I'm going to put my project in IntelliJ, and we'll get into all this next week. Don't worry too much about it here. I'm just going to do a project. I'll say create, say, hey, I want to make it here. It gives me some Java code. This will look familiar after you've read the chapter. Don't worry about it here. Yay, we have Java code. But now the GitHub client says, oh, this is lab 01, says, hey, there's a bunch of stuff here. All these files are great. We like them all. The tool, IntelliJ, uses everything in this idea folder. We really care about this one that says main.java. So as we start working with the tool, we'll put all of our files into the GitHub repositories, commit and push and synchronize so that the cloud has a copy. So that's kind of the workflow we'll be working with. So doing a text file for your introduction, great. It's just a text file. When we start working with Java files, they're also in text here, so I can see the contents. If it doesn't make any sense, that's okay. We're not there yet. No big deal. It's okay. We can get to it when we get there. But that is the idea. So if I know where the folder is, I can put stuff in the folder and Git will say, hey, I found something new. And we can commit it and push it, synchronize with the cloud, and then the cloud has a copy of it, and life is good. So that's the flow of what we're going to do for all of these. So that's what we're going to do for Lab 0 in just a little bit here. I also want to talk a little bit about Chapter 1 real quick here. Where is it? Java notes. So just this mental landscape of what programming is all about. Real briefly here, this is easy enough for you folks to go and read. Nothing super interesting here. Some real low-level stuff. What happens behind the scenes are computers work with zeros and ones. We don't want to work with zeros and ones because it's really slow and tedious. So we want to work with what's known as a higher level language that knows how to talk to the computer in zeros and ones. Java happens to be one of those high level languages. So we can write Java code, stuff happens, it tells the computer what to do, and we get stuff back out. Life is good. Years ago, they didn't have Java, and they had to do stuff in zeros and ones, and it was awful. My father has a box of these punch cards that have holes in them. And you would take a box of like index cards with holes in them and feed them to a computer, and the computer would read that as code somehow. And it just sounds awful. He gets all nostalgic about it. I'm like, that sounds terrible, Dad. I don't know why you thought that was fun, but he's like, oh, it was fun back then. So sure, that was fun. So your computer does lots of things really, really, really fast. Your central processing unit is the brains of the computer. It does stuff that we were told it to do. We use all sorts of other components here that talk all together thanks to your motherboard. Everything talks together. It's lots of fun. We work with things like displays and keyboards and network interfaces and disk drives, and memory is where information is stored short term on the computer. This is not your disk drive. This is as I'm storing information to be used. That's our memory here. We get some fun stuff there. The Java virtual machine is sort of like the intermediary. So when we write Java code, we speak Java to the Java virtual machine. The Java virtual machine speaks computer to your hardware. And then we'll translate stuff back to us, which is really nice. So the fine folks at Oracle run this now, and they charge a licensing fee for all sorts of weird things, which that's fine. We don't need to get into it. But we write our Java program. It gets something done as compiled. It gets turned into this Java bytecode, which then will go run on different devices. So Java likes to advertise they run on billions of devices around the world. They run on lots of different platforms here because the fine folks at Oracle write the Java virtual machine that knows how to talk to your operating system. So Java actually talks to Windows, and Windows talks to the CPU, and it's like a little bit of a more of a step here. It doesn't necessarily talk right to the hardware directly. Your operating system's job is to do that, but that's like a 400 level class if you're doing computer science. We don't care too much. It does stuff. So when we write programs here, programs do simple steps here. There's a great video. I'll have to link it to you later. It asks kids how you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then we literally follow their instructions. So if they say put the peanut butter on the bread, you grab a jar of peanut butter and you put it on top of a slice of bread, because it didn't say open it, scoop them out with a knife, and spread it. Right? The computer will do what you tell it to do. If you miss some steps, it will skip those steps for you, because it only does what you tell it to do. So we have to get very detailed into every single step that has to happen to tell the computer what to do. We'll get used to it. It takes a little bit of getting used to. Take some practice. Of really, the hard part of programming is taking a problem and figuring out how I can break it down into small enough steps to tell a stupid computer to do it. That's the art of programming, and that's why I think programming is so interesting. There's a lot of science that happens behind the scenes as well, but really the art of it is, how do I problem solve? How do I take a big problem and break it down into small steps and figure out how to make my computer do it here? So you can do all sorts of fun things with this one. Object-oriented programming is not new. It's newer. I guess it's been around for a long time. This is a great way for people to think about programming. It gives us lots of benefits. We'll get into a whole chapter on all sorts of things about it here. This just sort of sets the stage for that for us. And then our modern user interface, we don't actually use anything modern for quite a while because it is harder. So we'll do the basic stuff here. So in my program, when I run this thing here, I'm going to see a little black box, and I'll see text spit out in the little black box, and we'll say yay. So down here it says hello world, and this is all we get. We get a little text box here for text, and later on we'll start typing in here, and then we'll use the stuff we type in. This is like the first 2/3 of the class. We all live in this little black box. That's okay. We'll get to the modern user interface the last third of class when we do our final project, where we actually have buttons to click on and a screen that, and we can use the mouse. We don't use the mouse at all for any of the other stuff, so a little sad. But again, we're going to start slow, just kind of set the stage. And then the internet and beyond. Sure, this is fun. That is chapter 1. So go through that at your leisure. I don't even really give a quiz on chapter 1. There's a syllabus quiz where I ask you to agree to the academic integrity policy, ask you how much time you're going to spend on the class, when you're going to spend the time. I'll get that posted later tonight. Won't be too bad. So that's about it for tonight. If you have issues installing the tools, let me know. Next week, we'll actually write our first Java program. You also can have the joy of a black box that says hello world. And that's sort of where everyone starts. I don't know who picked it here, but years ago, someone said we should make computers say hello world for your very first project. And that's what we did. We stick with it. So, yeah. So why don't I'll shut up for tonight. We can work on the lab. Again, you're going to clone the repository, make a text file, put your answers in the text file, come to GitHub, commit the change, push the change, view it on the website. It's a bunch of steps here. It's okay. We'll go through all those steps. And then if you can see it on github.com, I'll be able to see it on github.com. So that's like your last sanity check there, that if you're not sure if I'm going to be able to see it or not, if you can see it on the website, I'll be able to see it on the website, because that's how websites work, sort of. And life is pretty good there. So, all right. So if you're hanging out online, I'm going to end the stream. Just find me on Discord, shoot me some messages. We can go from there, okay? Thanks, everybody.